Good evening, Scotland. Good evening, social media land. I hope you're well. It is Friday, the 10th of January, 2025. Welcome to the first live in 25. You know that I've been waiting to say that since my last live stream. We're live in 25. Yeah, no, shut up, right, okay. I hope you all had an amazing Christmas and New Year. It's really good to be back. I'm very happy to be here. Let me just go through the usual disclaimer. We are streaming across both YouTube and TikTok tonight, so please do take the time to like and share across all these platforms. And say hello in the comments too. If we lose the live stream on one of them, please head to the other, because hopefully nothing will happen. Second one. And please do participate in the chat. It's always good to have people talking away and having a bit of fun in the chitty chatties. And we're also recording this live and all of the comments as well to ensure the security and integrity of. Okay, so back in 2014, Better Together ran their campaign with a cutthroat razor. They manipulated people, they used the media to the best way possible, they used social media to the best way possible, they had lies, and we could talk about how frustrated we are with the whole campaign very, very easily. Now, there was a chap called Rob Shorthouse. Now, Rob Shorthouse was the Scotsman that ran the campaign behind the scenes. 9 years ago, he delivered a presentation to a thing called the Campaigning Summit. Basically, it was a conference for political campaigning gurus about how successful his Better Together campaign was. Tonight, we're going to look at his strategies and discuss them, and then analyse what we could do, what we could take away from that, and maybe use it to streamline our own campaign. You might think that there's not anything really in there, but see, when you examine it, it's actually pretty good. They knew what they were doing. But anyway, as always, we're going to play this first. We start our lives with an important reminder that we are fighting one of the world's greatest propaganda machines, the British state and their right-wing oligarch-run media. To combat this, we ask that you always follow, like and share, and comment positively across all social media platforms on any of your favourite Scottish independent creators and commentators. By doing this, you help to spread the word of our cause and manipulate social media algorithms to benefit our struggle. So please, for now, like and share this live stream, and if you haven't already, follow this account. Thank you. Okie dokie, let me just move to the main cam straight away just now. Let's see who we've got in TikTok land and in YouTube land. I don't expect this first live to be as busy as we were towards Christmas time, because it's the first one back and we need to get back into a bit of a rhythm. But across in TikTok land, there's Life of Cats. Hi! Hope you're okay. Hope you're good. You need to come on to Discord and say hello sometime. We've got a lot to talk about campaigning and stuff. Intelligent Darren. Very cool. Julianne, you just keep doing your thing, Julianne, making sure that people are liking and sharing this, please. Because I'm not supposed to say that out loud anymore. Apparently, the algorithm doesn't like people saying that. And if you are not a moderator, Julianne, we need to get you to be a moderator, which would be very important. And let's have a quick look. Who else? If I missed anybody? Druss, I saw Druss and Kareem. Dave's there as well. Calgacus, what a great name. And Duncruin. I like that. Very cool names. You're welcome here. I've never seen your names pop up over here before. It's nice to have you here. Right across in YouTube land. Let's see, we've got Doug. Hi Doug. There's Kareem's across there doing his thing over here. He's jumping between both. He looks after both streams. There's John. Hi John. Martin. So nice to see you. Neil, Doug Woofpet, Zen Bloke, all the regular gang. Listen, if you're watching on YouTube and you want to comment and enjoy the conversation, all right? I should be looking at the camera when I'm saying that, not at the screen over there. There we go. If you want to join the conversation on YouTube, you do have to subscribe and you have to wait about 5 minutes before it allows you to do that, Okay, so do click on the subscribe button and do that. And please encourage other people to do the same thing. We moved just before Christmas to just over 1,000 followers on YouTube, which is a massive deal because YouTube is a very important platform for Scottish independence. And I know how to use it really well for once. Okay, so we're now sitting at 1,045 subscribers, and that 45 has kind of gone up from about 15 at the start of the week since I started doing the videos again for everything. Right, so tonight we are going to be talking about Better Together. We're going to do it in about 3 segments, and it's in the form of a presentation with really cool graphics. Okay, so we're going to start off with image 1 just now. Let me bring that up just now. So back in the days of Better Together, they did a bit of research. Okay, they knew that 30% of the population in Scotland was diehard indie folk. Well, I shouldn't have that up just now. I should be talking to you. They were diehard indie folk. 40% were definitely unionists, and there was about 30% that were undecided. So they did a lot of research, a lot of polling, a lot of examining of the data, and decided that the people that they needed to convince were the 30% undecided. So what were they going to do to convince these people? So with all the research, they came up with this strategy, which was, right, they needed to have targeted content that was highlighting the risk and uncertainty of independence. So can you think of anything just now that they were saying that was highlighting the risk and uncertainty of independence? They also had targeted content for highlighting shared identity and solidarity, and they also wanted to give the undecided voters something positive to vote for. So these particular things resonated quite abruptly in the heads and the minds and the thought process of this really emotional time where people were looking at voting for massive constitutional change. Sorry, my microphone is down. I need to get you away. Let's set up nicely. There we go. That's better. Right, can you still hear me? Yes, it's still working. Good. So they went through it all. Let me just have a wee look and see if anybody can you find. Right, cool. So what sort of things did they come up with? Nobody's answering the question, so we'll put it up ourselves. So risk and uncertainty of independence. So the economy, that came up quite a lot. You know, what are you going to do? You know, you won't have the broad shoulders of the union. Pensions came up. Now, we always say that pensions came up quite drastically all the time. They did admit down in Westminster that the pensions would be protected, but it didn't stop some door knockers going around saying, hey, your pension is in jeopardy. Likewise, defence, how are we going to defend ourselves when we wouldn't have the British Army and the British Armed Forces anymore? And what about that membership of the EU? If you vote to leave the Union, you will vote to leave the EU. What about your currency? What about the border? What about internal trade? Oh my God, you're not going to have passports either. Shit, eh? We know this all to be utter codswallop. You don't have to convince us. We are independence activists. We bleed saltires when you cut us. Simple as that. It worked quite well. Those particular things, the things that made people think, oh, maybe independence isn't that good an idea. So what else did they have? They wanted to talk about shared identity and solidarity. So we're stronger together. You know, there's a common purpose. We can move forward. The emotional appeals about how good the NHS is when we're together. You know, the NHS, we built it together. Oh, what about the NHS? You won't get the NHS. Emotional appeals on currency. You know, you won't have that pound. The historical links with World War I and II, etc. The great British family. I just want to say that if Scotland was independent from the United Kingdom, do you think that we wouldn't have fought in World War II? Do you not think that we would have defended all of these islands? Of course we would have. We would have defended our neighbours as much as they would have defended us. There's no two bones about it. I would have. I would still do it. Okay, because we're kind of a symbiotic set of islands. What affects one of us will affect all of us if it became sort of like a military intervention type thing. If we were invaded, we would have to help because it's our land mass at the end of the day as well. But going back and having a closer look at that as well, there was a lot of emotional appeals about the NHS, a lot of emotional appeals about currency, and some directly frustrating arguments about currency as well, about how it wouldn't be strong or anything. Incidentally, the Scottish Currency Group has said that within a couple of years, a Scottish currency would be 12 points ahead of the Great British Pound, or the Great British Pound would fall 12 points because they wouldn't have Scotland's, resources to prop it up. What was the last thing that they talked about as well for it all? Something positive to vote for. So they talked about more powers for Holyrood, more control for Scotland over domestic policy, which was kind of the best of both worlds. You can be in the Union, but have more power, more autonomy. So all these things really appealed to a lot of the voters. Going back to it, okay? Again, let's just recap very briefly because it's really, really important that we get this and we understand this, okay? They highlighted the risk and uncertainty of independence, okay? Risk and uncertainty of independence. It's not a good thing, they were saying, okay? It's not good for you. You're stepping into the unknown. They targeted content highlighting shared identity and solidarity. We're British, we're better together, we are that wonderful union. Look what we can achieve together. And they gave the undecided voters something positive to vote for, which was and is, look, you can have the best of both worlds. We will set up a big commission and we'll call it the Smith Commission, and we'll say you can have all these new powers, all these amazing new powers. And that's what happened. Their campaign, as much as we hate it, was really good. Okay, we don't like it because we're independence activists. We see them as like, and all that rubbish. But it's not right. It's not good. So think about this, because what would happen in reality? I mean, what was the reality of Better Together in the real world? Okay, the economy's trashed, isn't it? I mean, it is. Liz Truss's lovely little thing. Incidentally, Liz Truss has sent a legal letter to Keir Starmer to say, stop saying that I crashed the economy. Love it when unionists fight. It's amazing. So yeah, the economy's trashed. It's the weakest it's been as a result of the economy being trashed. We have a living crisis. We have all sorts of fuel issues, etc. We'll come on to that as well in a minute. We've got the lowest pension in the developed world. We are now a military target for any escalation within the Ukraine war. We supply weapons and parts to a country enacting a genocide. We're no longer a member of the EU, and the Internal Market Act limits Scottish power and autonomy. Section 35 was used to limit Scottish legislation. Now, there's probably a lot more things out there that have happened since 2014 that we can say, like, we were promised A, B, C, and D. Okay, that shows that they were all talking rubbish, really, to be perfectly honest. Think about it. We're going to come back to it, and we'll play this just now.
My name is Kieran, and I want to build a better Scotland by progress with a well-being economy, so everyone in our land can live in dignity and security. What would you do to build a better Scotland?
What would you do to build a better Scotland? That was Kareem, by the way. Kareem, I'm sorry, you were the first one of 2025 to be a jingle. It's weird when you hear your own voice. I've got my own one as well. which is quite good. So we'll play me next. Let's have a quick look around the rooms to see what's going on. Okay, then we'll have a quick recap and we'll move on to what we can learn from that. Okay, oh, Mark's in the house. Hi, Mark. I hope you had a really happy New Year and Christmas, my friend. Please be nice to Mark. Mark should be. That's Mark that's been in here before. He's okay. You can get a wee bit funny with me sometimes. Apologised for saying that I had faced like a bum. It's okay. We like him. Let him speak. Let him speak. Oh yeah, Henry, if you want to join the Discord, send me a PM in any of the the platforms that we do, and I'll get you an invite. Okay, very good. Ross in TikTok land, a good conversation going on. Rage against the bigots. Very much. Right, so Better Together's campaign, like it or not, it was technical. They used technology, they used social media, they used Twitter to react to things in real time very quickly. They used Facebook for prolonged sort of campaigning, sort of like to keep a consistent message going through it all. Right? So these are things that we need to think about as well. But let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so how could the Scottish Independence Campaign use a similar strategy in a positive way? Right? So let's just reverse the whole thing. Okay, let's just reverse the whole thing and think of using the same strategies that Better Together did, except from a pro-Scottish point of view. So we could use targeted content highlighting the risk and uncertainty of the union, but with real life examples, actual things that have happened, not like a what if. Or what if you leave the union? What currency are you going to use? Or what if you leave it? What are you going to do about a passport? What are you going to do about this? Not what ifs, actual things. Right? Targeted content highlighting Scottish identity and solidarity with real life examples. We've got plenty of them. In fact, to be perfectly honest, the greatest example and expression of solidarity within Scotland is independence. It is taking control of the reins of the great horse, the great unicorn that is us, and doing something positive with it. And of course, we need to give the undecided voters something positive to vote for. See where I'm going with this? Do you see where I'm going with this? If we adopt those three strategies in campaigning and doing things, we can do a lot more. We can take the campaign away from politics and put it back where it should be, in your hands, the activists' hands. It should be about what we're saying, our conversations. We shouldn't have to be led by political leaders to do these things. We just need a way to be organised and know what we're doing. And this isn't, is it? Please correct me if I'm wrong if you think that this is nonsense. Okay, but from Mark, you'll always think I'm being nonsense in YouTube land. Okay, anyway, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so let's look at the risk and uncertainty again with real life examples of the union. So this goes right back to the Better Together campaign in reality with a few extras. So the economy's trashed completely. Brexit's done that. Liz Truss has done that. The inflation of ridiculous extent has done that. We do have the lowest pension in the developed world. We are definitely a target for Ukraine escalation. We supply weapons and parts of genocide. This is stuff we've been through. We are no longer a member of the EU. The Internal Market Act and Section 35 limits our legislation and autonomy. Can you think of any more? Well, we can add now the winter fuel payment issue. We can totally add that in now. There we go, that's what I need. WASPy women's pension stuff, massive betrayal. Massive betrayal after Labour campaigned to help them. Just take it out of there for a second, okay? Just remove yourself from it. This is a union thing, it's not a Scottish thing. Right? These women deserve their pension, okay? And we can deliver better pensions, a well-being pension in a well-being economy in an independent Scotland. That is the goal. And you're right, Julianne, the two-child cap payment. So the union again, and we'll call them the union collectively, set up the two-child cap payment and then ratified it when they changed power from Tories to Labour and said, we're going to keep that. But by this time next year, we should be in a position where we will be at the end of the research and the setting up to mitigate that. But why should we have to mitigate that? Why can't we just be independent and be in control of our own social services? You know? Which slide was it? Was it this one? Yeah. The two-child cap benefit. It's probably a lot more. So, we talk about rejoining the EU. Now, I'm quite happy to rejoin the EU. A lot of people won't be happy to rejoin the EU. And they have to have their voice too. So, do you know something? The single thing that's trashed the economy the most in these islands is Brexit. It's the big elephant in the room that no politician likes to talk about, but they have to talk about it. So if you're not happy about a process of joining the EU, and nobody's ever rejoined the EU, and we're doing our best politically to try and keep ourselves aligned with the standards within the EU, but it gets more and more difficult as more legislation is passed out of Westminster that could jeopardise that. But EFTA is the way that I would go to begin with. I think that everybody should take note that EFTA is free movement and trade. Kareem says it would take about 3 months to join. Yeah, even if it took a year to join, even if it took the full duration of a transition period to join. So when we get to Flag Day, which is the day when we don't have the transition going on anymore and it's done and dusted, and we bring down the remnants of the jacks that are all around Scotland and put up the saltires instead, okay, when that happens, why can't we be set up and stepping into EFTA? We'll set up our currency by then. We'll step into EFTA. Dead easy. Dead easy. Right, I can't remember what image it is, so we're just going to go into it. Right, so Scottish identity and solidarity with real life examples. Sporting events, the Tartan Army and Scotland's rugby. God, have you ever been to a stadium where they sing the Flower of Scotland and you have thousands of Scots singing the Flower of Scotland? When will we see your likes again? God, I get goosebumps just now thinking about that. Wow. I mean, I've been at football matches where that's been sung, but I've been at a full stadium at Murrayfield, and that was epic. Utterly epic. It's something that I've said to my wife that I know that you don't like big sporting events, but she has to experience that just once, because it's incredible. So we have that solidarity thing going on with sporting events. We have a solidarity thing across the extended community and family in Scotland for Palestine. You know, marches to end the attacks on Palestine, to end the genocide. We came together for that. They were marching every week for that. I went on a few of those marches. They're like, wow. They were powerful. We could actually, as an independence movement, learn a lot about the energy that they used all the way through that. I'm going to speak to All Under One Banner about that, actually, because they are organised with the amount of noise that they made at the pro-Pally marches. They're very clever at doing it as well. What else we got? We've got our national love for our NHS. like our NHS? Do we not fund it properly? Do we not want to give everybody the opportunity to have the best healthcare, to pay our healthcare workers the best salaries that they deserve? Do we not want to encourage people to go into that? Do we not? It doesn't matter whether you're a unionist or a pro-indie person. We love our NHS, we love our football, we love our rugby. This is the Scottish identity, this is the modern Scottish identity, this is the solidarity that we can all agree upon. Love of our water. You've seen memes where people are, there's this lassie, I can't remember her name, she's really funny. It's somebody saying, I hate your accent, and she's going, and you know what, I hate your football team. She goes, aye, and your rugby team is shite as well, aye, and your water tastes like gas. What? Don't you say my water tastes like this. But do you know what? Do we not love our water? Isn't our water great? It sounds really stupid in the fact as well. Okay, saying that we love our water. The water comes out of every household tap. Every household tap. Whether you're a union, the unionists don't get different water from us. Do they? Of course not. And, before anybody says it, okay, we've got the best water in the whole of these islands. We've got the best water organisation and company. Yes, they have made mistakes, not as many as the private organisation down south, and they're certainly not in as much debt, and they do not answer to profit-making shareholders. Answer to you, Scottish people. What else we got? Okay, here's a bit of solidarity for you. The time that in Glasgow and Edinburgh, people came together and stopped immigration officers deporting a couple of folk. Do you remember that? They were there for the full day. They surrounded the van. They wouldn't let them leave. Is that not like solidarity with our friends and sisters? It really is. Our food and drink. We love our food and drink. How we voted to stay in the EU. Every single voting region in Scotland voted to stay. And you know something? You hear utter morons twisting this around. Yeah, but if you turn around and look at the electorate, only a certain amount of the electorate actually voted. Yeah, we know that. And so not everybody's views were taken into consideration. No, if you didn't vote, that is your view. You couldn't be arsed voting, so you didn't go and view. You know, it's crazy. Our natural resources, our gas, our oil, our precious metals, our all that stuff that's been exploited, the stuff that keeps us tethered, tied, chained, handcuffed to the union. I quite like it. You know, I quite like it. I'm all for it. I think that we should have a sensible transition across to renewables, and I think that we should use our oil and gas to fund it. I think that we would have a boom with our renewables. We'll never find out unless we're independent, you know that. Can you think of any more? Can you think of any more sort of real life, like Scottish identity and solidarity type things going on? You know, I think that it's quite important that we consider all these things. The ones that stand out to me the most, though, for solidarity is the sporting events and our water. Everybody loves our water. We can all agree. And yeah, there we go. H. Wolf in TikTok says our language. This is so true. Our language and our culture. So I've given you sort of like real life examples of things that we might take for granted. I did all that on total purpose, because it's important that you guys turn and do it. So H. Wolf, our culture, tartans, our Scottish identity, our accent, our regional accents, our ability to have, we've got like what, 3-4 languages around Scotland. I think our languages, our colloquial language, our national language should be taught in school. I think that more people speaking Gaelic and we should have more people speaking Scots. It's something that's so important. That whole identity thing is incredible. Our history. Something, you've got incredible organisations like Salvo and Liberation Scot that are wanting to use our history to liberate us through the United Nations, to get us as a state which is deemed to be colonised. It might be tough for them to do that, but I think they've got a good case. And regardless whether it works or not, it brings the whole thing about independence to the top table in the United Nations. It's an important factor that our food, our whiskey, our fish, our mountains, our tourism, all of these things, we can't disagree with, whether you're a unionist or whether you're pro-independence. It's Scottish. Astounding. Right, I don't know what's on image 9, but we'll check it just now. Yes. Let's give the undecided voters something positive to vote for. We'd be able to spend all of our money, that is, all of our money. £88.5 billion we sent south in 23-24. 88.5 billion. We got 41 billion back in the block grant, and the union spent 30 billion on our behalf, pensions, all that stuff. These figures are on JERS. Okay, I might have got a 0 wrong or a 1 wrong somewhere, but these figures come from JERS. Okay, but then they say that we have a deficit of 22 billion pounds. Okay, it's 22 billion pounds. So we need to ask ourselves, where does that 22 billion come from? Right. I was working tonight right up until 10:30, just about. Okay, so I'm not working from a script or notes tonight. I'm just working from my images. But I need to tell you a wee story. Okay, at work, I am tipping a wagon, emptying a lorry, of all the chilled and frozen goods for the shop that I work in. So it's 39 cages coming off this back of this truck. And the guy was saying, I've said to the guy, God, it's freezing, innit? Because I like to poke people and see what their thoughts are about certain things. And I said to him, it's really cold tonight. He goes, oh, it's going to be -4 tonight. Up north, it's going to be -20. And I went, you're joking. He goes, God, what about those poor old people that can't afford to put their heating on up there? And he turns around and he goes, in Labour, I never thought they would do that. I voted Labour all my life. And I can't do it anymore. I says, well, who are you going to vote for? I'm not going to vote. Why do you vote for Scotland? No, I can't vote for the SNP. I hate them too. It says, that's fine. Don't need to like them to vote for them. I can't deny that they're doing more for Scotland than Labour or the Tory party. So we had this conversation and it went on when I'm tipping the wagon and it carried on. And he says, do you think we could afford it? And I says, of course we could. You get people shouting that we've got a deficit all the time, but where does that deficit come from? We have to budget, okay, our meagre block grant of £41 billion. We have to budget within that. We cannot spend within the devolved areas more than that. It's as simple as that. So how can we attain a deficit? That deficit comes from spending and loans taken out on our behalf for things that are not paid for in Scotland. You go back to JERS, you see that the things that they're paid for in Scotland cost round about 30 billion. So 41 plus 30 is 71 billion. We sent 88 billion down. Let's just say for ease of calculation that there was 15 billion left over, but they spent that on something and spend another 22 billion. So it would be 37 billion extra pounds they're spending in Scotland. Anybody tell me what they spent 37 more billions of pounds in Scotland for? Because if they were spending that much more, our country would be remarkable. It would be like the Scottish Wakanda. What was that brilliant place in Marvel? Was it Wakanda? I think it was. Okay, but think about it. 37 more billion pounds, but no, we don't see new roads built by them. We don't see ferries built by them. We don't see any of that because it wasn't spent in Scotland. So how can that be attained to us having a deficit? So when the driver asked me, "You think we could afford it?" I went, "Yeah." And I said to him, 88.5 billion, 41 billion, 30 billion, 22 billion deficit. Where does that come from? And it was a moment, I've not seen this moment for a few months because I've not had an opportunity to have these discussions. It was a light bulb moment in this man's head, and he goes, "What? Where do you get your figures from? Is this Jers? It's all there, you can go and look it up. It's how you interpret it." Anyway, it says Jers figures are just an estimate on the front cover anyway, so it's just an estimate, mate. Because I think that we actually earn a lot more, but they don't tell us. Anyway, he's gone away thinking about voting holding his nose and voting SNP in 2026. And he says, "Should I vote both votes with SNP?" I went, "No! Don't do that. Don't do that." Not unless you're in the borders or up north. Okay, which was great. Anyway, back to what we were talking about. Where was it? Image 9. So taxation would be another positive thing to vote for. We would be in charge of our own taxation, our own social security, our own defence, our own international policy, our own international trade policies, our own immigration, our own natural resources, our own energy, our own food production, our own housing, our own tourism, licensing, border control, and I bet you guys can think of more. Now, there's a lot of things that we're in charge of there already. I've not mentioned one on purpose, which I don't think we just check. No, I didn't, and that's education. Something that we get slapped about for. Left, right and centre. Oh, the attainment gap is rubbish. Well, apparently the attainment gap is better than England's just now. I could be wrong. I'm sure I read that somewhere today, which is good. But there you go. I need to look into that more, so don't quote me on it just now. But Scottish education is pretty damn good. We've got more university graduates in the workforce than any other European nation. We have more people going into higher education from schools than England do as a percentage of population. My son's at university, my daughter will be going to university. And we recognise that an educated population is better long term for the prospects of our country. This is why we should have higher education, right? I think it should go right up to PhD. Okay, but at least through your postgrads. Okay, it's really, really important. Opportunities for our kids is something that we should never ever take for granted. And education and having different roadmaps to do what they want. It just doesn't have to be a university degree. It has to be what works for them. Like, for instance, there's a friend of mine's son. He's not university material, and he recognises this, but he would be, and he wants to be, and he has been. Okay, he's not at school anymore. He's doing. He's beyond apprenticeship now, but he went through a path of apprenticeship to be a carpenter, not a chippy. That's what we call it. But he is a proper furniture maker, carpenter. He makes the most incredible things. Some people need to do something different, so the opportunities and the different roadmaps of education need to be available for people. It's really, really, really important. What else did we have on that list? Immigration. Some people don't like the idea of more relaxed immigration. I think that the European model's fine. I think that if we're in EFTA, having free open borders for people to come in, it never did us any harm before. I think that it's a very populist way of thinking when we have all these problems with immigration. I don't firmly believe that. I don't think that there's hundreds of boats craft landing on the shores of England the way that it's. I think that it's a bit crazy to think that, to be perfectly honest. I think giving them something positive. That's what we're supposed to be discussing. Something giving something to the undecided voters, something positive to vote for. So all these things, if you think about the things that we don't really control, we don't control all of our taxation, we don't control all of our social security, we do control our health, we don't control defence, we don't control international policy or international trade, we don't control immigration, we don't control our national resources, we don't control energy, we do control food production. We do control housing, and we're building more houses all the time. We do control tourism, and most of the licenses for things, not everything. We do not control our borders. Scotland not be a better place? Great to vote for these sort of things for an independent Scotland. So, I really do. I'm going to have a quick look, see what image 10 is. Right, cool. So, here we go. If we were to use, let's go right back to the very first one. This is what the Better Together campaign did, which was highlight the risk of uncertainty, targeted the shared identity and solidarity, and give the voters something positive to vote for. So we've decided that we're going to do the same sort of thing. Okay, so let's have a look to see how that would actually work in reality. This is just me having a conversation with somebody. So to highlight the factor of uncertainty, I did this tonight, okay, with that driver. I can't believe how much my gas and electricity bill is. You know, because I kind of did it a different way with him. I did it about pensioners up north. Okay, so that is there is highlight the factor of uncertainty. I can't believe how much my gas and electricity bill is. So highlight the shared identity and solidarity. Scots are probably feeling the pinch this winter, especially our pensioners. All Scots. All Scots. Unionists as well. All Scots. The undecided voters. They're in that bracket of all Scots. They need to give them something positive to vote for. You don't think things would be far different if Scotland was in charge of its own energy and resources? You don't need to turn around and say it'd be better without the union. Gets people's shackles up. Plant the seed. Talk about it. Have a conversation. That's what it's about. It's tough. I think all Scots are feeling how tough it is. What could we do differently? In charge of our own energy, it might be different. Did another one. My mum worked all her life and her pension barely stretches to her needs. This is true, by the way. How many other Scottish pensioners are in the same boat? I'm believing that Scotland should be in charge of our own pension policy and make things better. But there you go. So highlight the factor of uncertainty. My mum worked all her life and her pension barely stretches to her needs. Highlight the shared identity and solidarity. Wonder how many other Scottish pensioners are in the same boat. Give them something positive to vote for. And that is basically for Scotland to be in charge of her. These are just quick examples. Okay, I've made a couple of images as well, which kind of highlight these sort of things. I'm going to actually make up more professional ones because these took me 10 minutes this morning, and I will actually make up more interesting ones. But we'll show these now. Was it 11? Was that 11? I just did not. It's 11. 12. Here we go. So this is what I would like to campaign for. Not just Scottish pensions, but the idea is, the buzzword is vote for Scotland. Not for the SNP, not for ALPA, not for ISP or the Greens. It's vote for Scotland. So Scotland's pension is one of the lowest in the developed world. It is managed by Westminster, not Scotland. Is it not about time we had control of our own pensions? Does that not make sense? Vote for Scotland. Vote for Scotland. Scotland's pension is one of the lowest in the developed world, and it is managed by Westminster, not Scotland. So you have the uncertainty straight there. Okay, we do what's called anti-solidarity, which is basically saying, look, we've got nothing in common with these people. They're not standing in solidarity with us because that pension is managed by Westminster, not Scotland. Is it not about time we had control of our pensions? It's the thing that or that positive thing, should be the way that it is done. Got another one? cost of living crisis affects every single Scottish family. So there's the uncertainty and the solidarity. It was caused by decisions made in Westminster, not Scotland. There's the uncertainty as well. Is it not about time we had control of our own economy? Vote for Scotland. Vote for Scotland. It's simple. You vote for Scotland. Don't get dragged down into the political tribalism of what's going to happen over the next year. We know, like it or not, the SNP can govern Scotland. Okay, they're not perfect. They're a shitload better than everything that comes out of Westminster. Cannot be denied. Even the Labour man on the back of the truck tonight agrees with that. He doesn't like Nicola. He doesn't like anything to do with the SNP. But he's a way to think about it. And I says, look, just think about it, man. He says, you'll go and speak to your mates and they'll convince you to do it otherwise. But you vote for Scotland. And he goes, I think I need to consider voting for Scotland. And I went, aye. That was the first time I've used a vote for Scotland on anybody. And it resonated with them. It resonated. You should make that a hashtag. Every single person that's watching here just now should go away and say in 22 on their Facebooks, on their Instagram stories, on their Snapchats, take a picture of yourself and say, I'm voting for Scotland, hashtag vote for Scotland. Stop, do you go like this? I'm voting for Scotland. Make that a thing. It should be a thing. Because I quite like the SNP. I don't agree with everything they do or they don't. One thing I don't agree with is SNP for both votes, SNP right across the country. We need to do it down in the borders and we need to do it up north. But Central Belt and all the other places? No. Okay, it looks like the SNP are going to ravage the constituencies in 2026 and they're going to get no list seats. So, and everybody will get hooked up in the whole campaigning thing of like, well, the SNP say we've got to do it, so we're going to do it. No, you don't. It's your vote. It's your Scotland. You need to vote for Scotland. We need to take the whole thing and turn it upside down and realise that politics is a tool. It is a tool to deliver our expression of self-determination. It is so, so important. So important. And by using these little methods that we've talked about today, you can have conversations like this. I'm going to make a video, like a wee coaching video just about this. A couple of shorts. I think it's important to keep it to about a minute. But Vote for Scotland is my tagline for the next year. Vote for Scotland. First vote for the SNP. Second vote any other independence party that has the chance to actually gain and win seats on the list. Alapa looks like they're going to have at least 6 or 7%. Maybe we should back them. Maybe we should back the Greens. People will turn out, I don't want to vote for Alapa. I don't trust the little parties. I don't want to do ISP. I don't want to do Greens. What have they ever done for us? Nothing. But then that's you wrapped up in tribalism. That's you wrapped up in a mentality of football team. Not what we need. You need to think of Scotland. We need to turn Holyrood into a pro-Scottish parliament, because Labour, the Tories and the Lib Dems all take their cues from London. I don't care what the red-headed lassie said in Glasgow yesterday or today, whenever it was, about, oh no, the party up here is going in a different direction from the party down south. That's bullshit. They get their funding from down south. Labour Party members in Scotland, okay, when you do your direct debit, it goes to the office in Newcastle, which is one of the Labour Party's financial offices. There's no getting about it, okay? Labour Scotland, Tory Labour, Lib Dem Scotland, all this nonsense, they are all English-based parties. And I'm not being racist when I say that. It's the truth of the matter. They're English-based parties. There is only the SNP, Alapa, Scottish Greens and ISP that are actual, proper Scottish-based parties. There's another couple that are being formed or are up and running just now as well. But these are actual, proper Scottish parties. They do not take their cue from the status quo. Kareem's just said, yep, Reform will win seats in 2026. So the difference between Reform winning a lot of seats on the list and winning less is your ability to mitigate that by voting for another pro-Scottish party that do not have any constituencies seats at all. If some people have said, I'm going to go on about this just now, that if the percentage is the same or very similar for the amount of votes in constituencies to that on the list, SNP1, SNP2, the SNP will win more seats on the list. It is nonsense. Quite straightforwardly. If the SNP, let's say, win 9 seats in Glasgow like they won last time, that's all of the constituency seats, and the polls say they're going to do really well. So let's just take an assumption of 2021. It goes like this, and we'll keep it nice and simple for me to calculate without a calculator, right? They win 9 seats in the constituency. They have to divide all their list votes by the number of seats they've already won in the constituencies plus 1. So they've got 100,000 votes in the constituencies. Let's say by hook or by crook, they get 100,000 votes on the list. Okay, so their percentages are, let's say, are identical. Let's say it's 47%. Oh, look at that. They're there like this. They have 100,000 votes in the constituencies and 100,000 votes on the list. 100,000 votes on the list, when the calculation starts to give the list seats out, the SNP votes start at 10,000 because that 100,000 is divided by 9 plus 1. So it's divided by 10. So 100,000 divided by 10 is 10,000. That is where they start for round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4, up to round 7. That's where they start. It's got nothing to do with percentages. We need to get this. Okay? And it's something that people don't like hearing because they're stuck in that rut of political hegemony. It's their football team and they're not going to change their mind. But Kareem did a great thing. We had a discussion and he said, the analogy of football team's great. So some of the big teams lend their supporters lend their support to little teams when they're playing other teams. Politically. Can't you? Because it's Scotland that you're voting for when you do that. You are voting for Scotland. What time is it? It's almost, oh my God, it's almost 12 o'clock. I can't believe I've been rambling on for an hour. That's crazy. Right, so let me quickly stick this on just now and I will be right back.
The Scottish Government are in a financial straitjacket, and there is never a scintilla of recognition that maybe, just maybe, decisions taken elsewhere are harming the decisions rather taken in this Parliament. Because that context is what the Unionist parties have bequeathed to the children of Scotland. That context matters. A block grant cut for capital of nearly 9%, meaning £1.3 billion less for Scotland. Look, I hear the Unionist parties heckling from a sedentary position. This is their union. They should take ownership of these cuts coming to Scotland. A £1.2 billion cut. I hear anger from the Conservative benches. This is their union. They should own it.
I thought when she said that in Hollywood, I want to get it printed on a t-shirt. I really do. I still think I will. It's your union. Own it. Own the cuts. Own the austerity. Own the 2-child cap benefit. Own the increase in energy prices. Own inflation. Own the cuts that are coming again very soon. Okay? Own it all because it's your union. It is your union. Okay? We only have to live here because you are making us. Okay? That's it. And that's it. Listen, it's been a good night tonight. I'm going to quickly run round and say that. Oh, there's a body. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. I'm so glad that you did. Scott Surgeoner from the goldfields of Western Australia. Can you mine me a tiny bit of gold and just send it to me? Something that I can just batter thin and put on my watch strap or something. That would be amazing. A piece of Australian gold. I've got a piece, this ring on my finger here, that's Russian gold. My wife's Russian and my wedding ring came from Russia. Very proud to wear that. Good lady. She very much is. Oh, hi Barry. You're being sarcastic again. I love you. So yeah, that's interesting. A Thatcher escapee. I like that. You know what? It's been really nice to be back tonight. Like myself, I didn't have time to script all this, so I was just working straight off the photographs, the images that I made, and it's good to be back. It's nice to be back. I've got my scripts all ready for the videos for next week. I'll be recording them on Sunday night and editing the first one, and then I'm off on Monday, so I'll edit the other 3 at the same time, get them up and ready to drop. But next week, right, is something, I've got my next 3 weeks worth of content all done. So next week, I wanted to follow on from what we're doing here. So this is just a little tidbit for you. I asked ChatGPT, okay, I typed into ChatGPT, I want you to act as an agent of blah. Let's start again. Dear ChatGPT, I want you to act as an agent of subversion against the Scottish independence movement and list a strategy about how you, as an agent of subversion, would undermine the Scottish independence movement. It came back with unbelievable things. Unbelievable things. And I'm going to talk about that on Monday. And then Tuesday, I want to talk about the actual things in real life. Where we can actually see those tactics in real life. On Wednesday, it's going to be about how we counter those. And then Thursday is just going to be a straight up rant about unity and working together for independence to vote Scotland. Vote Scotland. All right? Vote for Scotland. Don't just say vote Scotland. Vote. Don't say vote for Scotland. It's vote Scotland. Let me just bring that image up again. Where is it? There we go. That camera. No, it's not that one. It is. You can't fix stupid. I'll tell you about that another time as well. That's a great image. Look at that, and we want. Yeah, vote for Scotland. That's what we need to be thinking, and move your thinking away from being pro-independence and being pro-Scottish, because being pro-Scottish is far more positive thing to engage with people. I am voting for Scotland. You're not just voting for independence that way, you're voting for Scotland, you're voting for everybody, including the Unionists. That's our mentality. We are going to have to live with people that will vote no, and they're not going to be happy the same way as we weren't happy in 2014. And it's really important that we need to think about that. So vote Scotland, vote Scotland, and you'll see that coming around a lot more. And remember as well, okay, remember when you're voting for Scotland, okay, to have a positive conversation about it, as opposed to sort of like, union shite. We know the union shite, but a lot of people don't think of it. That's it. Thank you everybody that has been here tonight. I hope you have enjoyed yourself. We will be back more. There is something else that's happening with maybe a second live every couple of weeks where I'm going to bring in some of the Saorsa guys. I can do it and still have all this going on. I've spoken to people about it and they're quite willing to come on, and we're going to take a discussion point and do it. We'll also maybe do ad hoc lives on the phone as well, where it'll be more interesting. Right. So yeah, join me. I'm going to be in Discord, where anybody that's wanting to jump into Discord for a wee while, I'll jump on as well. In the meantime, you have a great weekend, and I will see you next week. so that you will come and watch the videos as well. Please, if you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do take the opportunity to do that, especially as well on TikTok. Hi James, I never saw you popping in there. Right, and that's it. Speak to you all next week. Have a great weekend.
I'll reach my hands out in the dark and wait for yours to enter like a